Okay, we're going to bring a joint session of the Personnel Committee and Public Safety meeting to order. Our first item, anyone have any discussion items? Hearing none. First item on the agenda is for the Public Safety Committee with the departure of Jen Petties. We need to decide how we're going to move forward. You've got two proposals in front of you. Brian, do you want to take control of this? Actually, you got two proposals in front of you, and
You're doing fine.
thank you. One from Lucille, probation, and the other one from Brenda, Brenda Rabo, who's been associated with the department as long as Jim's been there, I think. And the question becomes, how do we proceed? Comments? It was sent by email.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think that Brenda's done an exceptional job. When there's been consolidation, she's absorbed tasks. She's been an exemplary employee. So I definitely support Brenda. But I would love to hear what the other committee members have to say.
Would you like to hear their...
Why don't we let them both do a presentation?
Brenda, do you want to start, and then Lucille, and just give us a little overview of what you proposed for us?
Well, as I put together the proposal, we already are a consolidated department with the three divisions, youth, ATI, which encompasses community service and pretrial release, and most recently the Veterans Department. I can't stress enough how each position within the department works with one another, and one offsets the other. I mean, when I may be pulled to one of the divisions, the director position jumps in and covers the parts that I'm not able to cover when I'm pulled to one of the other divisions. The veterans, when we cover, they're there part-time, we allow that department to go part-time, and Dwight is there Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, as a part-time clerk, leaving, coverage for that piece on Mondays and Fridays. The Veterans Office is a very busy part of our office. We have 4,000 veterans in our county, and as you can imagine, they're common in the services that we help. When they're not in the office, we're scheduling the van transportation on Mondays and Fridays. They're calling. They need whatever they need. And again, it's not just something that one person can cover because of all the different functions within the office.
So your proposal is that you take over. Someone would have to replace you, would have to get a clerk? Is that what I'm reading here? Dwight would stay where he is, and probation ATI would stay under you. ATI with Leslie. Anybody have any questions for Brendan? Yes, sir.
Well, I'll kick it off, I guess. Brenda, I know there's been some discussion about instead of bringing in a full-time clerical, possibly using a part-time clerical to replace your current position. Now, I don't believe anybody in here knows your workload better than you in that office. What would that do to the workload? Would you be able to continue to complete the workload in a timely manner? Would it slow you down? Would it have no effect? But in your opinion?
In my opinion, I do not see where it could go part-time. There are just so many different tasks associated with that position, and I don't see how it could happen and effectively be able to keep up with the workload that's entailed.
Could you give us us a brief idea of what kind of workload that you're looking at?
Well, first of all, being able to train a new person for 4 different divisions is going to take a considerable amount of time. A lot of training. You're gonna have to, there's a lot to be learned. It's something that has taken me 6 years to do, and it's not something that I'm training somebody to do in the course of a month or 2 months. It's going to be
Okay, thank you.
You set, Chair? Do you figure, Brenda, that you're about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or is it like a little more skewed than that, but
No,
between the different positions?
ATI with community service and pretrial is a little bit more, takes a bit more of the time than the veterans does. There's a lot more detail working with the courts, every court in the county. So that does take up a bigger piece.
Yes.
So, Brenda, regardless if your department stays the way that it is or it does change, there's going to be training regardless, one way or the other. Someone's going to have to step up and fill Jen's or someone's shoes that's not going to.
I understand, it's entirely up to the board to put somebody in that position, but whoever you put in that position has to come in with an understanding that they have to be a functioning part of that department. Because, like I said, if you take one part away, it's the entire operation.
So there's an extensive amount of education that's going to have to go into whoever goes into that position or whatever position that gets filled there. Thank you.
Brenda, I see that you've got the grade change on here next to your title. I was just wondering if Rich, could you give us the options on what they might be or what, how that would work out? I don't know what grade, what it is. I don't know which one it is.
I handed out this chart to the department heads. The grade change for executive director, instead of being executive director, the job spec on for director on the Brenda's proposal, which would be a director of the 3 departments. That would be a grade E for a department head. Going to have to change the qualifications a little bit to meet Brenda's qualifications.
And that's at that 41,893, Rich?
Well,
Base?
the base would be 39,393,
Mhm.
and she has longevity coming, so with the longevity, it'd be 41,893 for total compensation.
Okay.
And then, the full-time clerical use service specialist, that's a grade F, in the CSGA bracket. That's the same title that Brenda has now, present.
Okay. Anyone have any questions in regard to the grade change for Rich? Any further questions for Brenda? Lucille? Thanks, Brenda.
Okay. Everybody has my proposal, I assume? I did want to tell you there's a mistake on page 2. In the second paragraph, I said I was talking to the public safety chairman, the finance chairman, but I talked to the personnel chairman, not the finance chairman.
Talk to everybody.
Well, not everybody. Anyway, my original thought was when Jen left that pretrial services and community services for adults, which are criminal justice programs, should come under the probation department, which is a criminal justice department. And that was my original intent, to just move, do everything else status quo, and just move that to probation, because I feel that that's what we do. These are the same clients that we work with. These are people that are in the jails, people that are in the courts, people that are doing community service. We do community service in juveniles. I felt that we could take over community service for adults with the same personnel. No change to personnel. I do believe Brenda's done a wonderful job. I believe that the Youth Bureau's done a wonderful job with what they've been doing so far. I just, in my head, it doesn't belong under the Youth Bureau. Carol, as far as I know. It's criminal justice, that's where it belongs. Back in 2004, when ATI Inc., actually the year before that, ATI Inc., which had done these two programs, which dissolved, probation did pretrial for a year, and community service was kind of in limbo for a while because there was nobody to do it. In 2004, we sat down with Youth Bureau and probation and tried to come to some consensus as to where the program should go. And in the end, it went to Youth Bureau. Back then, I thought it belonged under us. I still do. 8 years, 9 years later, it's a criminal justice program. So when I brought that to the attention of the chairman of the various committees and the chairman of the board, there was a lot of discussion about Brenda's diversified job duties. She works for Youth Bureau, she does work for the community service and the veterans, and nobody wanted to split up her duties, which was fine with me as well. In my mind, I thought we could keep everything just the way it is, and I would just take over those two programs. She would continue to do what she's doing now, and I would just have oversight. But then there was discussion about moving the other programs under probation, which I don't believe are probation programs. But if that's what it was going to take to get the programs that I thought were probation-oriented, I said I would do it all, and that's what this proposal is.
So you were like using a shotgun approach?
Yeah.
You want to cover all bases?
Yeah, exactly. So, again, my motive was free trial and community service for adults.
Which would still take Rich. You would take
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
and you
When
would
I say take, he can stay where he is. I mean, I.
But he would fall under you
Right.
and Leslie. Questions?
Yes, I always think if you work smarter, not harder. And Brenda, what do you think about working in conjunction with Lucille instead of having the whole thing go under probation? Because I agree, there could be aspects that you could be a help instead of having the whole load be with you. Or do you think splitting it up would be not something that you would think would be wise? The three aspects, having the pre-trial release go under probation to help relieve your duties in the office, like working together.
Just pretrial or the entire ATI?
Right, well,
The entire-
either or both, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, Lucille, the entire ATI program?
Pre-trial and community service.
Right.
But I would still be functioning in that
In the youth, in the
ATI,
EW,
or are you saying just with youth and veterans?
youth and veterans
I
and.
think under what she's saying now, you would be just youth and veterans.
And
Correct me if I'm wrong.
ATI out to probation.
I think what Barbara wanted to know is how that would impact you as you currently operate if you were to lose ATI.
Right.
Well, it'd be a considerable chunk out of the
Okay.
department's workload, but,
Okay,
sure.
okay.
But some of your programs, interagency programs, are tied together, right?
Yes. Yes. Community service receives some funding through youth monies that we get through municipal funds from the state. They do run a 20.
So having it all be in under one roof is more of an assistance in that way. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else?
So I'll just say that, Brenda's done an excellent job there, and as the old saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't think we need to make this drastic change at this time. Let the programs exist for this year, and there could be changes in the win next year anyways, budget time or even thereafter. So I would, I appreciate Lucille coming here and giving her presentation and wanting to take over that program, but I think things are running so smoothly in that office that I would hate to disrupt that process. And, I have never seen a glitch in that office. served on many committees in that office as well, when I was chairman of the board, so I can't say, I'm going to support Brenda, as I told her I was, and let this program hopefully remain where it is, and promote Brenda to the director, and hire a secretary to help her out. So there's going to be a savings there between Brenda's salary and a new secretary coming in, a senior clerk typist position. So there's going to be a savings there anyways. And I think the savings is upwards of
16.5.
16.5, so that's a good chunk of money. So I would suggest right now, unfortunately, I'd suggest just leaving it alone for this year.
What's that, Tom?
Yes, thanks.
Anyone else? Sure. And then Tom.
Lucille, under your proposal, sorry, by bringing community service and ATI under your umbrella, you would still be looking to have Brenda do the clerical staff, or the clerical work, correct? Okay. You wouldn't be looking to put any additional clerical help in there?
No.
Under your proposal?
One of the benefits of the probation department is we have more people than Brenda's department. So we would have backup when things didn't quite go to, didn't quite happen the way they were supposed to. So I would have people that I could move around if there were absences or those kinds of things. So
Okay.
I think that's a good advantage.
I think that the concern that I have is you're losing a clerical person in essence. I believe that Jen did a tremendous amount of clerical work herself, even though she was director. And under your proposal, I don't see that being backfilled. I think there's still a tremendous workload that exists, but isn't going to be fulfilled. So I see your 40,759 in savings, but I don't think that's a realistic savings.
Well, that savings was taking over all of the programs. That was not just the two programs.
Right.
I said we did pre-trial for a year. I know what kind of paperwork is involved there. As far as community service is concerned, we're running a community service program now for juveniles. I also know what paperwork is involved there. The state reporting that they do, I also do for our programs. So, yes, there's paperwork, but I think that's something we can handle. If it came to that, if it came to actually separating the programs out, I think we could handle that. I'm taking work home now. I don't mind taking work home. I don't mind working hard. So that's, I go back to my original premise. They're criminal justice programs. They belong in criminal justice. That's where they should be.
What's that,
Thank you,
Chair?
Chair.
Tom?
Yeah, I have to agree with Supervisor DeMeza. When you've been here over a period of time, you happen to see the interaction of those members in those departments. You can't take one portion out and expect the rest of it to maintain its efficiency. We're, especially like in the case of veterans. We're seeing the veterans, as long as veterans is able to just deal with the vets and their programs, and not have to do the administrative portion of it. We've gotten two part-time people doing what normally what originally was two full-time people a few years ago. And so we consolidated, we saved money there, and the veterans are actually coming back to the county, and not only coming back, they're coming back in droves because of it. When you take community service and pre-trial, I happened to be there in 2004 when we took ATI over from the city where it was being dissolved. It didn't work well in 2004. It could have been the people that were involved in it, but it didn't work well. It was underutilized in a lot of respects, because I think 2004 you probably did 30 cases, when I think they're doing 80, 90 now. So like Tom said, I think right now it works like a well-oiled machine in that section. And as long as we can satisfy the position change and bring someone else in, I would prefer it to stay just the way it is. Thank you, Chair.
Lucille, were you trying to get my attention?
Well, I was just going to say, we've never done community service for adults, I think. We did pre-trial for girls.
You did pre-trial.
John, I think he wanted another shot.
Yeah, just a couple of things. To piggyback on Supervisor Stagliano, I agree with the comment about the veterans. I think that in the 5 year, excuse me, the 5 years that I've been a supervisor, that department, obviously I hold it dear, being a veteran myself, but to serve these folks that have served our country, and to have somebody like Dwight in there to take care of that, it's been a tremendous boost, both in the service that these men and women are receiving, but in just the honor that we have to serve them. And I think that has been a real shining star in Montgomery County, the fact that we have a group like this taking care of our veterans. So I'm being rather long-winded about saying I'm pleased about how the department is run and the service that is extended from that department. So with that said, Brenda, the question that I have is, obviously right now you're in the bargaining unit, and you're looking at leaving the bargaining unit with less than a year left before we have the new form of government taking hold. Is that something that, I mean, speak now or forever hold your peace, is that something that you're comfortable with, making that move for potentially just a year?
I'm aware of the bargaining versus non-bargaining issue. I've stepped up because I feel that this is what I can do and what I need to do for that department. Keep it working like it's working. I want to make the sacrifice.
Okay. Well, I just want to say right now that I think that we're better served keeping the department the way that it is. We could be that way for just a year, and it may be completely changed next year, I don't know. But I'm going to say right now that I believe that we're probably better served leaving it the way that it is. Thank you, Chair.
Rich, did you want to say something? Then Brian.
Just for a reference, on Brenda's proposal, on page 4, we go back to the full-time clerical position in that department. It says full-time youth service specialist. That's the same title that Brenda holds today,
Grade F.
grade F. She's a competitive civil service employee. So a year from now, when the county exec comes in and takes Brenda out of that non-bargaining position, she can fall back her seniority back to that position and lay off the other person.
So she is protected,
She's protected in the youth specialist position.
not as a director, but as a
Correct.
clerk. And you understand that, Brenda?
Yes.
Thanks, Rich. Brian?
Lucille, so if you were to take just the ATI portion of that department without any of the people from that department, could you do that?
Are you talking pre-trial, or are you talking the
Well,
community service?
Pre-trial and...
Well, pre-trial is contracted out through Leslie.
Right.
So she would stay status quo.
Right.
I couldn't do community service without Rich. I'd have to have somebody actually do.
Okay, but no other clerical, you wouldn't need any other clerical staff?
I can't really answer that. Possibly part-time. I mean, it certainly wouldn't be a full-time position. Possibly part-time.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? I have to say, we spoke, when I had Lucille and Jen both come up and they put together proposals for us before Jen left. This was her suggestion. She strongly suggested and recommended that the board follow this side of the room as opposed to that side. She came out in support of Brenda and keeping all of the groups together, and that it was working as a well-oiled machine, and she would hate to see that disrupted. And I just thought I should pass that on to you because Jen's not here to speak for herself. So, should we put this up for a straw poll, or is there further discussion for the two individuals?
No.
With the two of your committee, Brian? Sure. I still need the committee members. I apologize, I don't have your members in front of me. And those in favor of keeping the department just as it is with Brenda taking over the directorship and hiring a new person for the clerical staff?
You want to start with Brian's committee first?
Yes, please.
Okay, so that would be Brian,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Supervisor Allen,
Yep.
Supervisor Coddington,
Yes.
Supervisor DeMezis, yes.
Yes.
Supervisor Radzikowski absent, Supervisor Stark absent, Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
That pretty much does it.
Mhm.
So the only thing for personnel is, Rich, you would have to advertise for that position.
I have a civil service list for it.
You have an active list,
Yes.
so it should be a relatively seamless
You
transition.
just have to change the budget.
Is there anything else you require from the personnel committee?
We need an appointment, resolution to appoint Brenda as director.
And we can prepare that?
For next meeting, right?
Okay. Is there anything I missed? Everybody okay?
Are you planning on doing that next week?
For the meeting, next week.
For the full board?
You do that tonight.
So 2 seconds so that you can move it.
Yeah.
Tom DeMezza? I'll second. Second to that.
Yeah, you can.
So on personnel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So moved. Thanks, Brian.
I'd like to thank Lucia for, offering to the, the help and to take those, in the light of consolidation. I appreciate it.
You had to give it a shot, Lucia.
Thank you.
We have a resolution authorizing the chairman to sign agreement for excess workman's compensation coverage. Sponsor, need a second. Tom? Any questions on this? Dominic, you good with it? Yeah. Wishes of the committee? Move it. Move positive?
Yeah.
Any objection? So moved. I have one other item. I need to request an executive session to discuss a bargaining issue with an employee, a specific employee.
So moved.
Tom DeMezza, John Terra. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Yeah,
We ask that you please step out for a moment. Rich can stay. Anybody else need to stay?
We'll call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Is there anything that anyone wants to discuss? Okay, if not, we have a resolution amending 2013 budget, 2011 flood disaster emergency management. It needs a sponsor. Brian, second. Bill. Any discussion? Now, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Move it.
Move it. Next resolution is resolution amending 2013 operating budget carryover grant, New York State Office of Homeland Security, 2010 grant, emergency management. Sponsor, Tom. Need a second. Bill? Any discussion?
Move it.
Move it.
Move it.
Next resolution, a resolution amending 2013 operating budget, New York State Office of Homeland Security, 2012 grant, emergency management. Needs a sponsor, Brian. Needs a second. Michael?
Hey, Mike.
Move it.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, pleasure, move it.
Move it.
Next resolution, a resolution authorizing chairman to sign maintenance agreement for software. Needs a sponsor, Michael. Needs a second. Herb? Any discussion? Yeah, Bill?
Chair, this is budget.
For entering? Yes, good. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure? Move it. Resolution delegating erroneous assessment correction approval authority to auditing committee. Needs a sponsor, I'll sponsor that one. Needs a second, Brian. Any discussion? Pleasure of the committee? Move it.
Yep.
Next resolution, a resolution approving auctioneering services agreement, county-owned real property sale. Michael, is there a second? Brian? Sean, anything you want to add to this or no?
No, this is the same contract we've had in place since 1997.
Okay. Is there any questions for him? If not, what's the pleasure? Move it.
Move it.
And lastly, we got a resolution approving the abstract of audited claims. That needs a sponsor. Brian? Needs a second. John? Any questions? What's the pleasure of the committee? Move it?
Move it.
Okay. Got anything else other than, yes, John?
Each of you have received a disc.
No, it's my difficult.
I highly recommend that you at least look at it. This is the appraisal that was done of the Mosa properties. And I'm already getting pressure from the Otsego County Mosa board members to not discuss this in our organizational meeting on the 29th because Otsego County is already trying to create a different agenda. They have their properties are appraised too highly in their opinion in Otsego County. So they're preparing for battle on this. And I think that what they're saying is that they won't receive their fair share if the numbers stand on this appraisal. So they're already saying that we're trying to screw them.
Too bad.
So I think you really need to look at this and kind of get an idea of where it stands, because we do have some work ahead of us. I've already contacted Assemblyman Santa Barbara's office to try to get a home rule request through the Assembly to change the legislation that was done last year by Otsego County, so that there's ownership of the landfills at least established beyond Mosa. So it really is something you need to look at and start thinking about, because it's going to cost us money if we don't. Thank you.
Bill?
If anybody's interested, I caught the article. It was written up in NISAG yesterday. The Otsego County article. So you'll learn a little bit more than what John just told you. It was quite a long article.
You're not the only daily story.
I believe it was, but very seldom do I read all those NISAG articles. I saw it most of the night. I did not. It's pretty interesting.
Motion adjourned.
Is there anything else in front of the committee? Not? Was that a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.